All right, how's it going, everyone? Welcome back to a new video. And in today's video, we are going to be doing a NFL quarterback tier list. And I'm actually going to be joined here shortly with a special guest and Sam Reed. And we're just going to be going over like our opinions and thoughts on most of the starting quarterbacks in the NFL, as long as other quarterbacks as well. But if you do enjoy the video, please leave a like. I would greatly appreciate that. And if you agree or disagree with anything, please leave a comment down below. But without further ado, let's go ahead and hop right into it. All right, and now we're here joined with Sam Reed. How's it going, Sam? How's your evening going?
It's good. It's good. I'm glad to be here on the video, the quarterback tier list
Hmm.
video. Just got off work
Yep.
not too long ago, and I'm excited here to talk some ball, specifically NFL quarterbacks, see where they're all standing. Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. Thanks for actually taking your time to be here. And we're actually supposed to get Anthony on here, but he ditched us. So he doesn't want my YouTube channel to grow. And yeah, so but that's how things are. You just have to improvise and move things along. But yeah, so we're gonna be doing a quarterback tier list, and I have most of the. I actually made this tier list myself, so I have most of the starting quarterbacks in here, as long as some backups or some of the quarterbacks that started this past season. But I'm just gonna go over some of the tiers I have set in here. So on the top we have Mahomes for obvious reasons, and then the next tier we have top five, we have top 10, above average, average, below average, bad, and unproven. So yeah, so this is how we're gonna rank it, and feel free to be biased, unbiased, whatever opinions you have on any quarterback. But yeah, let's go ahead and get right into it. Since you're the guest, I'll just let you start first. I mean, we're just going to go down the list. Let's start with Kyler Murray from the Arizona Cardinals here.
Yeah, for Kyler Murray, I guess we'll go down the line. I'll get it kicked off here. We've got what Mahomes top five, top 10, above average, average, below average, bad, unproven. I think what we're gonna be doing is like when we put these guys in, I feel like we're gonna put them in initially somewhere, and then as the list forms itself, maybe move people around
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
a little bit,
Hmm.
um, just because we see it. I'm for Kyler Murray, I'm a fan. I'm a Kyler Murray believer. I think he's elite. To an extent. I would say just off the bat right now, I'd probably put him in like above average top 10.
Hmm.
Just with like, I mean, he's had a good career. If we're talking right now, in terms of success for the Arizona Cardinals, they didn't have a terrible year, and I don't think he played terrible. But they didn't have like one of the better years that he has shown us that he's capable of doing and bringing wins to this Arizona Cardinals roster. And I think once he figures out things with his receivers a little bit more. I mean, we all know. I mean, you see the shirt.
Yes,
I'm a
sir.
big Ohio State proponent. And so he's got Marvin Harrison, man. That guy is gonna have a career as a receiver in the NFL. So once those two men start to figure it out, get on the same page, I think they could definitely go up. But I would say right now, maybe above average, maybe just off of like raw skill and what we think could
Hmm.
make an argument for top 10 right now. And maybe once this list starts to develop a little bit more, we'll see that maybe he does actually belong in the top 10. But I would say above average for now, just to kick it off, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. So I was actually teetering between average and above average. So let's go
Okay.
ahead and just place him in above average right now, and then we can alter it as time goes. But yeah, so Kyler Murray is pretty interesting because he's had a decently long career in the NFL already, and he's had Cliff Kingsbury as head coach, and now he has Jonathan Gannon. His weapons like aren't the best, like so. I'm trying to like take in consideration, like in the environment, the team he plays with, and talent as well. Yeah, I think he has all the talent as a quarterback to be a franchise quarterback, and we've seen flashes of him being elite. In his like I would say like this past season, I would lean towards a pretty average season, but we've seen that those elite high level of play that he can produce at the quarterback position. I mean, I think his height does hinder him a little bit as a quarterback, just making those deeper throws and whatnot, and just seeing past his linemen in general. but he's able to like create within the structure, get the balls in the pocket, be able to use his legs to scramble for positive yards and get out of pocket structures and yeah, so I think teetering between average above average. But yeah, we can put him in above average. That's why I wish, we had like a third person here, so like,
Yeah.
kind of be the middleman, but yeah, we'll leave him in above average for now and we can alter it. Moving on to Michael Penix from Atlanta Falcons. Yeah, what do you think here? I would say he's unproven, but
Yeah, that's what I would say as well. Like unproven. I mean, what he didn't start. He didn't start starting until like week what?
yeah,
Very late in the season
very, very
for the
late.
Falcons.
Yeah.
So we
So,
have a very small sample size, I
mhm.
think. I
Um,
think it's just unproven.
and yeah, and you're more, college knowledge than I am. So like, what did you think of Michael Penix coming out of college at least?
I mean, he was a dog throughout his entire college career.
Hmm.
He started off at Indiana, and really, like, I remember playing against him in what, like, COVID year. And it was maybe COVID year, year before, year after, something like that. In his time at Indiana, and I knew then. I mean, he was tearing us up as an Ohio State fan. So to
Yeah.
see him go to Washington and transfer out and do pretty much the exact same thing and actually do it on a much higher scale because he was able to take the Washington Huskies to a national title appearance. Granted, wasn't able to knock off Michigan, but yeah, I think he was a great college quarterback. When you look at the raw film and whatnot, I think there's a little bit of tainting of his image just because he is a lefty.
Hmm.
And there's kind of those when people look at lefty quarterbacks, you it just looks a little weird. As most quarterbacks in the NFL are right-handed, that we've seen that have been elite or have had great careers. Sure, there are a few, but for the most part, when you see a lefty like that, there's it's kind of like the opposite of rose-tinted glasses when you look at him.
Hmm.
I've seen it's funny. Somebody threw together a highlight reel of just like his time at Washington that senior year or his final year at Washington, but like flipped the camera, and he looks insane. It's crazy, just like what your mind, the tricks you play on. So
Yeah, yeah.
I am a believer in his raw talent, but I just don't think on the NFL stage yet he's had a chance to really show that or see if he can deliver yet.
Yeah, 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 for sure. I mean, like he started really late, replacing Kirk Cousins in the uh on the Falcons, but with the games that we have seen from him, I think he's played relatively well. I mean, like just sitting, like looking at him sitting in the pocket, he seems like a very decisive thrower. His balls are relatively accurate, but like you said, and like how we know that it's just a super small sample size here. But as time goes on, it'll be interesting to see like where he lands in this tier list if we ever do like a tier list on a year from now or whatnot. But yeah, for now, I think he's just unproven at this point. But yeah, moving on, we have the big boys back to back. Lamar Jackson for the Baltimore Ravens. What do you think here? I mean, I think we can all agree at least he's top five. But like when we get
Yeah.
these other top five quarterbacks in, it'll be interesting to see like where he places among them. So what are your thoughts on Lamar here?
Yeah, he's definitely top 5. I think arguably should have probably got MVP this year and
Mm,
maybe not last year. If you were to pick between the two, I think he definitely statistically had a much better season this year than last year. But it's funny how that works and um, goes to goes to Allen instead. But yeah, Lamar is definitely top 5. I think he's elite, an elite player objectively. It's just struggling to get over that hump of making a Super Bowl, obviously, and we talked about that on our podcast
yep.
or my podcast that I have you on, and yeah, he's just struggling to get over that hump. But I think as just a pound for pound quarterback, he's definitely top 5 in the league and a household name at this point.
Yeah, yeah, and I just think that he gets a lot of hate. I think in the passing game, I think he's really underrated in how well and how accurate he is as a pocket passer. I mean, in my opinion, I think he's for sure 100% the best dual quarterback in the league. I think
Hmm.
and then, I think he'll go down as the best dual threat quarterback in the league, as seen.
Agreed.
I mean, just game planning for him, his speed at the quarterback position, be able to throw, use those RPOs with him. It makes defenses think a lot. But yeah, Lamar Jackson, top five, I think it's pretty easy there. But moving on, Josh Allen here. I mean, he's also top five here. It's just a matter of where does he land in this top five? What do you think here, Sam?
Yeah, this is tough because I mean, like I said, I think Lamar should have probably got MVP this year
Yeah,
over Allen. Um, but in terms of judging the two of them, like comparing the two and trying to rank them in a top five list, it's really apples to oranges for me in terms of what they do for their team and how important they are for their rosters. I think objectively, I would still probably have Lamar over Josh Allen, but it really literally, I mean, it literally just depends on game to game basis, like who shows up in that specific game. And yeah, I don't know. If I had to give you an answer, I would probably personally rank Lamar just a little bit over in terms of like objectively looking at the two of them and their skill sets and what they bring to the team. But it's really like 1A or I guess 2A, 2B for me, in my opinion.
yeah. I mean, I agree. This is a 2A, 2B situation for me. I mean, they're undoubtedly elite franchise quarterbacks. Apples and oranges, like you said, both have their own skill sets. I actually agree with you. I think Lamar is just a little bit over Josh Allen in terms of who I prefer. I mean, if we were starting the league over at the second over pick, I think I'd take Lamar Jackson over Josh Allen. But like you said, apples to oranges. Each quarterback, they have different skill sets. Josh Allen is actually a very underrated runner at the quarterback position as well. So it's like a vice versa situation. But again, both are just game changing quarterbacks. So at the NFL level, so there's nothing to complain with at that position there. But yeah. So moving on, we got Bryce Young for the Carolina Panthers. What do you think about him, Sam?
This is an interesting one, man, because I mean, we obviously saw him struggle early
Yeah.
on in the year, this year, but and then got benched
Hmm.
for Andy Dalton, but comes back in and just really turns things around. Looked like a whole different quarterback, a whole different level of confidence that he kind of possessed later on in the year. It was almost like a mentality of like like who really cares, at the end of the day. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna go out and do me and play my game, and show people that I am like the number one draft pick. And that's kind of what he did, man. And so I think if you would have asked me this question after he got benched, I would have had the guy in bad. I would have said I'd
Yeah.
seen enough.
Hmm.
And you know not even unproven. I would have straight up put him in bad. But after we saw, that kind of the end of the season, I'm definitely a little bit more hopeful for Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers building around him. As for which one I would assign him in, I don't know if we're factoring in that I feel like we got to a little bit,
Yeah.
factor
Yeah.
in that beginning of the season
Hmm.
to it. I would probably assign this guy like below average, maybe just from what we've seen so far. I mean, because like I said, we've seen the good and the bad from him basically. And um, it's like below average with a little bit of unproven element just because we've seen that like those two sides of the coin from him. So I would say to even it out, I would just say below average for now, but definitely hopeful on him like going forward.
Yeah, I'm hopeful too, and I don't think we've really seen his ceiling at all because just thinking
No.
about the Carolina Panthers and the offense around him, it's pretty pitiful. I mean, their best receiver is Adam Thielen, who's like middle 30s. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, they really just need to keep building around him. But after that benching, coming out of the draft, I've always liked Bryce Young because he seems like such a good kid. And so
Yeah.
his rookie season, I just felt really bad for him. I mean, he was put in a horrible situation. I mean, he was drafted with a different head coach. You get a change of head coach of your rookie season, and then you get benched and all that. You play horrible. You're the beginning half of the sophomore season, but coming out of that bench, replacing Andy Dalton. I mean, he really showed him, and he looked really good with the weapons that he had around him. I mean, I remember the week that they played the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, he almost beat us at home. So kudos to him. And I really wish the best for him. But yeah, as of right now, I also agree. I think we have to factor in, how he's played at the beginning of the season and all that. So I'll put him at below average. But yeah, I'm hoping the best for him there. Yeah, but moving
Definitely.
on, Caleb Williams. This will be interesting because I'm curious where you will rank him because we might have different opinions on this here.
Um, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking too. I was thinking this is a very interesting one. Just because I mean, first and foremost, the Chicago Bears have just been an absolute dumpster fire of an organization
Right.
with seemingly no identity or plan of like what they want to do or what the long-term picture looks like for them.
Yeah.
And Caleb Williams has kind of been thrown into that fire, to speak, or so. And I think I'm not out on Caleb Williams by any means. He was obviously in college one of the best, like generational talents we've seen in a while, in terms of what he was able to do on the football field and how he stood out from the competition. And so I'm not out on Caleb Williams by any means. I think if the Bears can kind of lock in and actually build around this guy, bring in free agents, make wise drafting decisions, and build around him, not just on the offensive side of the ball to give him weapons, because I mean they kind of did that last year. Signed a couple of receivers, a couple old heads,
Yeah.
but um, got him some weapons at least. But on the offensive line side of the ball, but as well as the defense, I think they do need to build around him. From what we've seen, I would probably put him myself in below average as well. Just in terms of like the Bears' success. But again, kind of similar to Bryce Young, man. I'm not out on him, and I'm probably still pretty hopeful, I guess, for what I could see in the future for Caleb Williams.
Yeah, so I was actually teetering between below average and
Mm.
unproven, but given the sample
Okay.
size that he had, yeah, because like he was just put into kind of a shitty situation. I mean, actually coming into the draft, we all thought that it was going to be a great situation. I mean, you had DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Roma Dunze at your lineup here. But yeah, his offensive line was pitiful. I'm pretty sure he was the most sacked quarterback in the league this past season. And then you also have the head coach change with Matt
Hmm.
Eberflus being fired and your offensive coordinator also being let go. So there's a whole dumpster fire at the organization. So hopefully we get more clarity going into the future of what Caleb Williams can be. I think we know that he has that elite ceiling, but we just haven't seen it yet. So that's why I was teetering between below average and unproven. But I agree. Like as a season whole, it was definitely below average, if not bad. I would say. So like
Hmm.
between those three tiers, I really can't decide.
Yeah, I would say just because he actually did play a whole season, and because of what we did with Bryce Young, I feel like they are kind of at a similar spot right now. I
Yeah.
would lean towards below average,
Okay.
if we had to go in there, or have to pick one. But yeah.
Yeah. All right. Moving on then. Joe Burrow at the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, we can also agree that he goes into the top five combo. Is he your definitive number four though? Is that your definitive number four?
That's a good question. That's exactly what I was just thinking about here in my head while you were talking about him, because I think that number five is pretty obvious, later on down the line. And you may say that Hurts deserves that spot.
Uh huh.
And I think it's a very sound and fair argument. I mean, he just won the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
so I don't think it's a definitive four.
Okay.
It really depends on what we're grading this list on, or what we're basing this tier list on.
Right.
Because I do think Joe Burrow as a like, just a whole quarterback, and what he did statistically this past year,
Mm-hmm.
with that offense and his connection with Jamar Chase, and all the touchdowns and yards that he threw for. I think that warrants like a four spot. But if we're more considering like actually being able to win, which isn't entirely on the quarterback, as we kind of saw with Joe Burrow. I mean, that defense was atrocious, so I don't think anybody would have been able to,
Right.
to be
Yeah.
honest. But I would probably say he deserves that four spot personally in my head, in my top five. But I don't think it's definitive. Like I definitely would respect an argument for like a Jalen Hurts in there, just in terms of the success he was able to bring to the Eagles.
Yeah, so I actually agree with you. I think that Joe Burrow, I'm sorry, Joe Burrow is my four at the quarterback tier list, and I think it's because of he hasn't won a Super Bowl like Jalen Hurts, but like I'm just trying to factor in everything, and I think well I know Joe Burrow is a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts, just as a just as pure pocket passer and just the way he elevates and changes the game. He's also made a Super Bowl and beat Patrick Mahomes, which Lamar and Josh Allen have not. But
Yep.
I think that he's still behind Allen and Lamar in that scenario there. He also does have great weapons, and he's had great weapons since being in the league, and Jamar Chase and T Higgins, and so I factor that in as well. Yeah, like you said, he also really can't get over the hump. They almost made the playoffs this past season, but it's just difficult playing in the AFC in general. But yeah, he's actually my four definitively. So
Do
yeah.
you know if what they're doing with T Higgins?
Yeah, so I heard that they franchise tagged him,
That's what I heard as well. I wasn't
which
sure if that was legit or not.
and here's another thing I have to factor in is the Cincinnati Bengals organization are cheap scumbags. Cheap
Yeah.
scumbags. And like, listen, I feel bad for T Higgins' situation because you franchise tag him. Now he can't. Now a team will have to give up another asset just to get him, and then offer him a big contract, a long-term contract, which he deservingly, should have gotten this offseason. But now, it's more. It makes it a little bit more difficult. They should have let him. If you were a respectable organization, you would let T Higgins, test free agency, see what kind of market he's garnishing, and if you want him back, match their offers. You know what I mean? So I really feel bad. That's why I'm pretty sure he got franchise tag last season, correct? Um,
Yeah, I think so.
so back to back franchise tag, that's really bad, and I really think that Cincinnati Bengals have just been a pretty cheap organization as a whole from top to bottom. So that goes on ownership, and yeah, so that's all I had to say on that situation. But yeah, so if the franchise tag holds, then T Higgins will be here for another year for the Bengals. Yeah, but moving on. I mean, this is pretty simple.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, not much needs to be said. I mean, he has been horrible. Probably the worst trade
Horrible.
ever in NFL
Ever. Like
history.
honestly.
I
Honestly.
mean, this really just sets the Browns back. I mean, they were already horrible,
Yeah.
but I feel bad for Kevin Stefanski as well because he actually made the playoffs. Not this past season, but the season before. So yeah, this is bad here. So moving on though, Cowboys, Dak Prescott. What do you have him at, Sam?
This is an interesting one as well. The Cowboys are. It almost seems like the Cowboys always have everything it takes, to get the job done and become a playoff team or a playoff contender. And they do that sometimes. They've made playoffs in recent years, but never able to actually do anything.
Oh yeah.
And Dak's been at the helm of that for a lot. I know he has battled some injuries, and he was out since I don't know when did he get hurt last year? It was pretty early
Yeah,
on,
it's pretty
right?
early. It was like
Yeah,
week 6, week 7, I think.
yeah. So now that being said, I do think Dak Prescott is like a pretty good quarterback.
Hmm.
I'm curious to see how Dallas would have done this past year had they had him at the helm. I don't know if that would have been good or bad, but it definitely would have affected, the definity of what we rate or where we place Dak Prescott here. Um, if I had to assign him one, I'd have him probably teetering between average and above average, personally.
Hmm.
Definitely not top 10 by
Hmm.
any means, especially because I mean he hasn't played, but I'd probably say definitely not below average.
Right, right,
I
right.
do think he is decent. So I'd be fine with either of those personally, but I'm curious what you think.
Yeah, so I'm actually debating between those two tiers as well. Because on one hand, I do think that actually Dak is a very good quarterback, And but on the other hand, he just has not had success in the playoffs, and that's a big
Mhm.
factor when it comes to being a quarterback. Like, does he play well in the brightest lights? So I don't know. I think he's still an above average quarterback in my opinion. I think that, you have to factor in that the Cowboys, they had elite defense these not this past year, but the years prior under Dan what's his name? Commanders
Uh,
head coach? Dan Quinn. I'm sorry.
uh,
Yeah,
Quinn,
Dan
Quinn,
Quinn.
yeah.
Yeah. They had elite defense, so maybe you can say, oh yeah, I carried a little bit into those playoff games. But he's still a franchise quarterback, I think, and he's still able to, be successful for the Dallas Cowboys. Do you agree with the above average tier here?
Yeah, I agree. I do think, like, objectively, I think behind Kyler Murray fits too.
Okay.
I think, like head to head, the two of them, just looking at it right now, because that's what we have in the tiers. I would say above average, but behind like Murray, at the
Okay.
bottom of it
Yeah,
for
yeah.
now.
And then now we have rookie quarterback Bo Nix out of the Broncos. I mean, I'm pretty sure you know him a little bit more about me since you've followed him a little bit at Oregon. But what's your thoughts here?
Yeah, I was really impressed with Bo Nix's season this year. I didn't really expect him to be as good as he was for this Broncos team. Like, um, let alone making a a playoff appearance. And yeah, man, I wasn't like super high on Bo Nix coming out of college. I mean, he'd had a pretty long career.
Yeah,
Started off at Auburn and then made his way to Oregon to finish it out. And yeah, I mean, he never really like blew me away though in college. He was definitely like top of the pack quarterback for sure, leading some really solid teams. But never really gave me anything to expect a huge rookie season like he kind of did this year. That being said, though, I don't think he was like necessarily elite per se,
yeah,
by any means this past year. I think this Broncos team doesn't really get enough credit for the pieces around them that they had, and or yeah, on both sides of the ball in general. I think it was like a pretty solid Broncos team,
yeah.
and so I don't think you can like 100% say Bo Nix carried this team alone to a playoff berth. So I would say, man, just after seeing the rookie year, probably teetering between average and above average. I would more lean towards average, but definitely a really solid rookie season from Bo Nix here, and I was impressed for sure.
Yeah, we've been kind of having the same opinion so far, so hopefully things get a
Yeah.
little interesting later down the line. But yeah, Bo Nix really impressed me his rookie season. Coming out of college, like I didn't really see him being, like a great quarterback coming into the
No.
NFL. But yeah, he surprised me, especially with like the weapons around him. They weren't all that, appealing.
Yeah, like
Besides,
receivers wise,
yeah,
and
because
yeah, yeah.
Portland Sutton's your top receiver, he's a very underrated receiver in the league. But also at the running game, they had a lot of issues, figuring out, a lead back at the position. But so with the weapons he worked with and all that, he really impressed me. But one season in at quarterback so far in the NFL, I think I'm also leaning average. I think that, like you said, above average would be perfectly fine as well. But just a small sample size compared to like Kyler Murray or Dak Prescott here. But I think he will be in that conversation as time moves on. Yeah.
Hmm.
But
Definitely.
yeah, what do you think about Jared Goff? This will be interesting as well because
Jared Goff is an interesting one too. Yeah.
he's been a successful, quarterback for the Detroit Lions and he's had a very long career. But you got to factor in, his playoff performances as well. So, what do you think here, Sam?
Yeah. It is an interesting one. I totally agree. You know, he has had, a sneaky long career, like you
Yeah.
say. Started off with the Rams, and made his way over to the Detroit Lions, and yeah, I think you got to respect what he's been able to do with these teams because he's really, been at the helm of actually some pretty solid rosters, in his time. Obviously, this Detroit Lions team was very good, one of the best teams in the NFL throughout the course of the regular season, and he was at the helm of them. That being said, I do think that he's like I hate when people like just call somebody a game manager
Yeah.
and you use that as like an insult almost because I don't think that's necessarily like a bad thing even if that is what you want to call it but it just means that like Jared Goff is the perfect player for that offense and facilitating that offense and I don't know when that turned into an insult somehow
Hmm.
but that's what he is in my mind and that's kind of what he was at his time at the Rams when they had a few good teams as well. And so yeah, I mean, looking at him specifically, pound for pound, I would say I'd probably say above average just because of the success he had. I don't think I could give him top 10. Maybe like I said, this list is subject to change as well. So maybe we'll be looking at it and he finds his way in there just from plain lack of other players. But I don't think that's gonna happen personally. But yeah, I mean, back to what you said as well about the playoff success and whatnot. I mean, the Detroit Lions pretty much crap the bed in the playoffs this year. And I do think you have to factor that in because a lot of that responsibility does come down to Goff if he's that guy that's supposed to be facilitating that offense and moving the ball and putting points on the board for the Lions. I do think you have to consider that. So I'd say I'd give him above average personally, but I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there is nothing wrong with being a game manager. And when you call a quarterback a game manager, like you said, like people take it as an insult, which it isn't true. I mean, he runs the Detroit Lions offense perfectly, and that's exactly what they needed. And so I agree that he does deserve to be in the above average tier list here. Um, yeah, but I also had to factor in, his playoff performances, especially this most recent one against the Washington Commanders where he threw multiple interceptions and then had fumble losses. So he really I see a lot of Lions fans and Lions players, complaining about not having a healthy defense. I really think that game is on golf at the end of the day. So yes, but other than that, I think he is a great quarterback. He runs the Detroit Lions offense perfectly. But it's now the debate becomes where does he place between Kyler Murray and Dak Prescott here?
I think just from the success of the Lions, I'd probably put him at the top here,
Hmm.
personally.
Yeah,
Um, because I mean, we haven't seen. I mean, this Lions team was insane. Like
right.
15 and what they finished 15-2, I think, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah. So I mean, just off of that alone, and at this point in time, I would put him above the other two.
Yeah, I agree. And you can play a lot of hypotheticals and be like, okay, well, if Dak Prescott was on the Lions, then he could be better. But at the end of the day, you can't choose, what the situation around you is. So Jared Goff happened to have, elite players around him. He happened to be on a great offense and Ben Johnson's play calling there. And yeah, he definitely is above Kyler Murray and Dak Prescott, in my opinion, as well. But moving on to Jordan Love from the Green Bay Packers, is he in your top 10 or do you think he's just above average?
Yeah, I've just got him as above average. Again, though, that could change.
Uh-huh.
I think pound for pound, he's a really good player. I mean, what is he, 6'4"? I just looked him up because I was curious about his size. He's 6'4", 220.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly what you look for in a quarterback, and he's got all the tangibles you want in a guy, and I mean, the Packers were great this year. A really good year for them. So I've got him in above average, but again, this is kind of another one where I'm like maybe as this list shakes out and we try to even it up here a little bit more, he could be, making a push for it.
Yeah, and it's also interesting because he was actually, backed up Aaron Rodgers for a few years before actually becoming the
Yeah.
starter for the Packers. And, when he did, I mean, he played really well and he still is playing really well. I mean, he has all the tangibles, like you said, to, do everything at the quarterback position. Turnovers were a little bit, like interceptions were a little bit noticeable this past season. But other than that, yeah, I think I have him in the top 10, like near the end of it. But
Okay.
I'm okay putting him with and on the top like list of the above average for now, and then like
Okay.
as things settle in, we can adjust from there.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Nah, here's your boy. You got the jersey, C.J. Stroud,
Yep.
Houston Texans. What do you think here?
Yeah, this is a really hard one for me
Uh huh.
to remain non-biased here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say top 10 here. And honestly, if you want to move Jordan Love into the top 10 as well,
Uh
just
huh.
because I'm saying this one, and a lot of people might make the argument that those two are pretty similar. In terms of skill level, I totally get that. But in my definitely biased take, I think objectively, I think Stroud is a top 10 quarterback in terms of what I think he could do for a team. I mean, he just, you know, turned around that Houston Texans team last year and looked really, really good. And then this year had, kind of a downer a year in terms of what we were expecting him growth wise. But I mean, still led them to the playoffs and actually got a W in the playoffs against the Chargers. And so yeah, I don't know. You know me, man. I'm a Stroud Glazer for sure. That's my goat, but you may disagree with me in terms of a more objective, unbiased look at it. But I'm curious your thoughts.
Oh man, this is so tough for me as well because I think like the doing between Jordan Love and CJ Stroud is just so difficult. Like just this like if we're going back his freshman year, I mean he had probably one of the best rookies NFL seasons at the quarterback position.
Yeah,
But he really had a down sophomore year. But you can really you have to factor in like what went around him. I mean, if his offensive coordinator, Ben Slowik, got fired, um,
yeah,
his offensive line was horrible this year. Uh, Stephon Diggs got injured, Tank Dell got injured, so and Nico Collins is actually injured for quite a while during the season as well. But they still made the playoffs, you know what I mean? So I don't think that this down sophomore year is solely on him. But yeah, I do have him like either above average top 10 as well. Like we gotta fill the tier list more and then figure it out
yeah.
from there. But I think I think I do have CJ Stroud over Jordan Love as well though.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm down with both of them though for now. To just be in top 10 as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Anthony Richardson, this is also very interesting because honestly, he really doesn't have like a whole lot of quarterback playing time, especially going way back into his college career as well. So, what do you think here?
Yeah, this may be like my hottest take, I guess, here. I think Anthony Richardson is at minimum below average.
Hmm.
I'm not a fan of him or a believer in Anthony Richardson at all. I really wasn't coming out of college. The hype seemingly just kind of started generating when people saw his measurables
Oh yeah,
and saw what he was able to do with the ball and how much of an athlete the guy is, and weren't really looking. And you're right, like this guy, I can't remember the exact stat, but I think he has like a ridiculous amount of career starts in football altogether. It's like under 20 or something like
yeah,
that going into this year, at least. And yeah, I mean he's just not experienced, man. And I think it's a product. I know Tom Brady has talked about it. I think I've mentioned this point specifically on the podcast, maybe once or twice, but it's a product of the mentality now that every program wants a guy to come in, this young guy like Anthony Richardson per se, to come in and just become like an elite quarterback in the NFL and just kickstart a career of greatness. And it's so unfair to these guys, man, because they just don't have the experience. I mean, this guy played one season at Florida as the starter, and that's pretty much it of
yeah.
his high level experience going into the NFL. Um, Battled some injuries, of course, but in the NFL so far, and we just haven't seen a whole lot of him. So I mean, you could make the argument for unproven as well here. I totally get that. But I just think from what I've seen from him, I think the culture of the NFL surrounding quarterbacks right now is doing him specifically a disservice, and I'm just not a believer in him personally.
Yeah, I mean, I got another hot take here. I think he's just going like in the bad tier list. What do you
Yeah, yeah,
are- were you
yeah.
too
That
were
that's
you
why that's what I meant by at minimum below average. After I
okay,
said it,
okay.
I thought that I don't know if that meant like he could be higher, but what I meant was at maximum, I guess,
Okay,
below
okay, yeah,
average,
yeah,
maybe bad. Yeah, I wouldn't hate bad either. So if you want to do that, I totally get it.
yeah. I mean, I'll give Anthony Richardson one credit is he's a hell of a quarterback on Madden.
Yeah.
He has crazy, insane stats on Madden that you can just build a great franchise quarterback out of him. And that's what probably, a lot of NFL GMs thought they could do, like IRL. But I don't know if he was eligible. But I think that he should have stayed another year in college. Was he eligible to?
I think he was.
Because
I want
he's
to say
fairly young,
he,
right? He's like 21.
yeah, very young.
Yeah, so like if you have that many games, I'm pretty sure it's like what 15 career games
Yeah,
in college.
yeah.
I really think that he prematurely entered the NFL draft. I think another season in college would have helped him a lot more, just develop as a quarterback in general. But yeah,
Hmm.
just in the NFL as a whole, I mean, he's played such little games, but he just seems like a very indecisive, decision maker. He not very accurate, but I will say that he has a very pretty deep ball. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was early into the NFL season where he had that deep ball to Alec Pierce. It was absolute
Yeah.
beauty, and
Oh,
everyone was like glazing it, which deservedly
oh
so.
yeah.
But then, a little hype for Anthony Richardson. I mean, listen, he has all of the intangibles to be a great quarterback. I think he just needs more experience. I think he needs more mentoring, more coaching. I think Joe Flacco being there is actually very helpful to him. But yeah, he's very inexperienced. I don't, in my opinion, I just don't think he will pan out to be a franchise quarterback as well. But I'm never preying on someone's downfall, of course. So, but yeah, I think he just falls into this bad tier right now. But yeah,
I agree.
moving on. Trevor Lawrence, Jacksonville Jaguars. I think he's like the most average quarterback you could think of when it comes to NFL
Yeah.
quarterbacks. What do you think here?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, there's not a whole lot to say about the guy because I mean he's had a couple good years.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
for sure.
the Jaguars made the playoffs. What was it? It was 2 or 3 years ago.
Hmm.
Under his rule, and he looked good there, but nothing to like write home about. Nothing to think that this is like a Super Bowl quarterback. That's just gonna take over, a playoff run,
Right.
by any means. And I mean, this past year, Jags were not great, by any means either. And yeah, I feel like he is kind of just like the epitome of average. I think maybe, under the right circumstances and whatnot, he could, be a, lead the Jaguars again to doing some things in the playoffs for sure. Like I'm not rolling that out, but I think he is just kind of average, man, and we really haven't seen that elite play or elite level of play that people wanted to see from him coming out of college, and the expectations I don't think he's necessarily met. Granted, they were very high, I think for sure, but I don't think they've been met regardless, in my opinion.
Yeah, and he coming out of college, I mean, he was a highly touted prospect at the quarterback position. That's why he went first overall. But yeah, he was kind of put into a shitty situation with Urban Myers. And
Yeah.
I know you love him, but yeah, Urban Myers at the Jacksonville Jaguars was a disaster. And then Doug Peterson came along, and then they actually made the playoffs, and he played pretty well against the Chargers. I'm pretty sure that was the game that the Chargers blew that big lead, and the Jacksonville Jaguars ended up winning that game. So he has played in pretty big moments and played well. And then this past season, I know that a lot of Jaguars fans were complaining about the offensive coordinator situation. That and then Doug Peterson happened to be fired. But yeah, I think he's just a very mediocre quarterback so far in this league. I think he obviously has the elite potential to move up in the tier list. And I'm really interested to see how well he plays in Liam Cohen's offense too. So for now, I think average is perfectly fine. I think also him being below Bo Nix works as well. What do you think?
I agree.
Okay. Yep. So, and then we got Mahomes, obvious
Yep.
reasons. Yep. Moving on, we got Aiden O'Connell from Las Vegas Raiders. Again, not much to
Yep.
say here. I think he's goes into the bad, but I think he's like the top of the bad, honestly.
You think? You think?
Because
Yeah. I mean, honestly.
yeah, so like I know he got injured for a little bit this past season, but and then Gardner Minshew stepped in. I don't think he's good by any means necessary, but I think he's better than Anthony Richardson and Deshaun Watson. Like this is like picking out of a trash can, you know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 Definitely.
This is like some loot that you don't want to have, but yeah, I think he's
Yeah.
like the top of the cream. Yeah, but do
Yeah.
you agree with this
I
here?
agree.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, honestly, I just looked up his stats real quick. I think what he played in like 5 games this year, I think.
Mhm.
And he's got what eight touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 1,600 yards. So it's like it's not bad.
Yeah,
But it's not like I mean it's the Raiders, dude. Like
yeah,
they
yeah,
were not good this year. So
yeah. So
yeah.
Justin Herbert. Okay, so this is getting interesting now because I'm curious if he does he land in your top five or does he land in the top 10 for sure between these two, right? What do you have
Yeah.
here?
I have him in top 10.
Okay.
Personally here. I think yeah, he's better than Stroud and better than Jordan Love, personally. Um, I think after last year, if we hadn't seen the Stroud season, I would have put Stroud over him
Mm-hmm.
just from what we had seen. But the Chargers kind of really turned it around underneath Jim Harbaugh, as much as I hate to say that. And yeah, I think Herbert. I didn't really expect the guy to do so well and this team to be doing so well, especially in Harbaugh's offense. And they did that and he did that. So I would have him top 10 here. Probably not top 5, but
Okay.
definitely the top of this top 10 right now.
Yeah, so I also have him in the top 10. I think that Justin Herbert just overall, he has just been surrounded by a lot of mediocrity
Oh,
in his
yeah.
season. I feel bad for him, but he's definitely an elite franchise quarterback. He has a very beautiful deep ball. He's very accurate. He's basically just everything you want in a franchise quarterback. But yeah, like just going back since even Brandon Staley when he was the head coach, like even having Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler on the team, the team was just mediocre overall. You know what I mean? But like their offensive line is good. Hopefully, they can get some more weapons to surround him. But yeah, I do think that he is a very elite quarterback and deservingly in the top 10 here. What about Matthew Stafford?
Matthew Stafford, this is an interesting one as well.
Hmm.
Because I mean he won a Super Bowl what 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
And he's had a very long and storied career of really doing well for both the Lions and the Rams. It's funny how him and Goff pretty much traded places on
Yeah.
the team, and I think they're very similar in terms of their career. As of right now, uh, I don't know. I think the Rams did well this season in that NFC. Kind of turned it, not turned it around, but turned it on. There at the end of the season and um, really made a strong push to solidify themselves as the leaders of that division out west in the NFC. And yeah, I think Stafford is definitely a root cause of that. I'd probably have Stafford in above average. Personally, I probably have him at the top of it. Him or Golf is definitely up for debate in my head for sure. Just
Hmm.
because Goff had an outstanding roster and the Lions did amazing this year, like I talked about when we were discussing him. But I'd have him in above average personally, if I had to rank him.
Okay, so we have 7 quarterbacks in the top 10. I think he's like leaning top 10 for
You think?
me, like near the end for sure. But yeah, leaning top 10. Yeah, like he had a very long career, so like comparing him to like some of the younger guys is kind of incomparable, but like just the success he's had in the most recent years, even being at his age and winning a Super Bowl, you know, he's had great weapons around him, but he's just been a great quarterback for all his career. And even to like this past season, taking the LA Rams, who started off a little slow into the playoffs all the way into the divisional round. So against the Philadelphia Eagles, which they almost actually came back
They
and beat
almost
the Eagles.
won.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so um, he can still play. I do think he's still a franchise quarterback. Um, in terms of like it's hard to like rank quarterbacks because like in terms of if we're doing like a franchise do over, I'm not taking Matthew Stafford over any of these young guys,
Yeah.
right? But like if I have like a complete team that's like a Super Bowl ready team and I need to
Yeah.
plug one quarterback in, I think Matthew Stafford would be on top of that list. So
Yeah.
I think he's like just perfectly right here.
Okay.
Yep. Moving on to what's your thoughts on this
Tua,
man?
Tua, Tua, man. He really broke my heart this year as a Tua fantasy owner and
Yep.
a real Miami Dolphins investor.
Yes.
Um, he he screwed me over.
Mhm.
And yeah, I
You
don't know.
you had some biasy
I
over this?
yeah. So I mean, I'm looking at it, looking down on it just because of that, with a bad taste in my mouth for sure.
Yeah.
Um, the thing is though, is like it was such a noticeable difference with this Miami Dolphins offense when Tua was out this year. Like he actually, which is crazy because just I don't know, he looks like I don't know, he just doesn't look like he has it all together, even when he is playing, but you can tell a difference when Miami is playing with or without him. So, I do think, that there is some merit to that and there is some skill that is deserved with Tua. But that being said, I mean, I don't know, just every single game he like I said, just didn't have it together. And so I don't know. I'd probably teeter between like average and below average here for him. Probably leaning towards average probably. For him. I don't know about you or if you're considering above average, but I don't really think he compares with the other three that are in there right now. So I'd probably assign average here, but yeah.
Oh yeah, I wasn't considering above average at all. I was
Yeah.
actually considering average, below average. I think average is perfectly
Yeah.
fine though, because you said there was a noticeable difference in that Miami Dolphins offense when he did get concussed and had to, take a long break from football. But yeah, this season as a whole was just a very down year for the Miami Dolphins. But prior, before with Mike McDaniel, he had a very good season with Miami Dolphins. I think that um, he's just a average quarterback and like mostly everything he does. I feel. But in terms of game manager, I think he kind of falls into that category. He has great weapons around him, of course. So I mean, just him providing for the team, and boosting the team, and like at least setting a floor, a good floor for the team really makes a difference.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
average really fits perfectly for him. Yeah, but moving on, we got Sam Darnold from the Minnesota Vikings. And also very interesting career trajectory from him. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's very interesting because like if we were to do this and the last two games of his season did not take place,
Yeah,
we would have probably been talking about it a lot differently. Because
yeah.
he really shocked a lot of people with what he was able to do with the Minnesota Vikings this year, at the helm of that offense, and it really just came crashing and burning down in those last couple games of the season. He just looked like a completely different guy and completely different quarterback and kind of I don't know if it was just like it's so hard to say like, oh, that was a fluke first 16 games or 17 games of the season. Because I mean, at the end of the day, that was still 16 or 17 games of an NFL season. It's not an easy feat to go out and do what he did, with that team. And so I think there is credit due there for sure. But there is an aspect of like, okay, maybe we saw the true Sam Darnold come out and there at the end of the year, and I think he definitely probably lost any debate that he had for keeping a job, with, obviously JJ McCarthy in that camp looking to step up next. So I think he kind of eliminated that for the most part. Uh, as for placing him on this list here, again, I'd probably say teetering between below average and average.
Uh-huh.
I don't really know where to lean though, to be completely honest with you.
I'll make your decision for you. I think
What do you?
he's average.
Okay,
Um,
okay, I'm fine with
yeah,
that.
he had most of his career he's been horrible with the Jets. I mean,
Yeah,
but that's the Jets, so
true.
I don't know how much to factor that in. I'm just really gonna think about the best games that he's played, which was with the Minnesota Vikings, and you can point to say Kevin O'Connell's QB whisperer. He really elevates the quarterback level play with the Minnesota Vikings, but Sam Darnold played really well, and I think he also falls into kind of that like game manager, quarterback role. But like you said, those past two games where the games matter the most, he absolutely vanished when the Minnesota Vikings needed him the most. So that's why, like, in terms of like past season, I think he really had an above average season. But like, those past two games and just career in general and all that, I think he's average. Where do you rank him between these four guys though?
Yeah, I'd probably put him behind Knicks,
Okay.
probably behind Knicks, maybe Lawrence, but
Yeah, so
probably. But
yeah, I think he's above Tua. I'm debating between Lawrence and Darnold because I think Lawrence is like the better quarterback. But
yeah,
in terms
I
of like
agree.
we're going off one season sampled, and Darnold had the better previous season. You know what I mean?
Okay, I'll go back to what you said earlier. Think of it like this: you have a complete team. Who do you need? Like, who are you taking to like go and win a Super Bowl between the two?
Yeah. I think I'm going Lawrence.
Yeah, I think I am as well. So I'd probably put him ahead of Tua and behind the other two.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, moving on. We got rookie Drake May from the New England Patriots. What do you think about May here?
I'm a dynasty Drake May owner. Drafted
Yes.
him, made a trade to draft him.
Yes.
Gave up a lot of stock in some other guys, and I actually liked what I saw from him once he kind of started, got slotted into the roster and kind of got things going for the Patriots. I know they weren't able to, actually do anything this year. But I don't think he looked too terrible. That being said, I mean, it wasn't great by any means
Yeah.
either. The Patriots were not great, but I am hopeful for him here with it's Vrabel, right? Vrabel's in now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So with Vrabel at the helm of that team, I'm very excited to see what he cooks up. And how the Patriots are going to be looking as a team in general, and I'd be reasonably confident with Drake May at the top of there. I know there were a lot of arguments for Drake May, being QB1, obviously, which is crazy because Caleb Williams was very generational. But I saw some takes for sure, people saying like Drake May is better than Caleb Williams, and while I may not agree with that, I don't think that's like a super crazy take by any means. I think he's objectively a pretty good quarterback too. Again, that being said, though, in terms of what we saw from him on the Patriots this past year in the NFL, I am going to put him in below average personally.
Okay.
I definitely don't think bad by any means. But just from what we'd seen, I'd say below average.
Yeah, I was teetering between below average and average. Yeah, it's like his rookie season for what he was dealt with. I think he played pretty well. I mean, his
Hmm.
top receiver is Demario Douglas, which is like a wide receiver three on any other team. He also didn't like his running back game, like on the Patriots, is like Ramondre Stevenson, which isn't like the greatest. His offensive line was bad. I mean, they just need to like keep surrounding him with weapons and talent on the offense in general. But for what he was dealt with, I don't think he played bad. I don't I think he played better than Caleb Williams. Do you think?
I
And
agree.
do you think he played better than Bryce Young? I think so.
Mm, you don't think so?
I think so.
I think so as well. Just from I mean, Bryce Young, yeah, he
Yeah.
didn't look good for a considerable portion of the year, and did for some, and like we said, so Drake May, I think, put together a better season as a whole.
Right. And I think that he'll climb up the ranks as time goes on, and hopefully, if the Patriots, build around him some more. But yeah, moving on, we got Derek Carr, New Orleans Saints. You used to be kind of a Saints fan, and then most of your Saints players left. So
Yeah, yeah, very unfortunate.
yeah, what's your thoughts on Carr here?
Ah, man, Carr's an interesting one as well.
Yep,
I would say between below average and bad.
yep,
Um,
yep.
here, this one I really don't know where to lean. You can go either way. Like you can make an argument for um below average. You can make an argument for bad as well. Just because I mean this Saints team hasn't been exceptional at all
Yeah.
with him since he came. Like he hasn't changed them by any means or anything. And so yeah, I don't know. I'm fine with either. I don't know what you are leaning towards.
Yeah, I mean, I think he had like one really good year with the Raiders, and then but most of his career has really just been below average or like mid at
Yeah,
best. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
then I'm gonna bring a little bias in here. The one thing I hate about Derek Carr, he be throwing fucking hospital balls, bro.
Hospital balls, yes.
Dude, I made a trade with Anthony in our Noodle Gang fantasy league, and I traded for Chris Olave. And that week, I traded for Chris Olave. This motherfucker, Derek Carr, throws the most hospital ball looking pass ever. Chris Olave, and he's out for the year. So I
Dude,
throw a little
get
biasy there.
Chris out of there, man.
I know, dude. I feel bad. I feel bad. He's had like multiple concussions in like his short career in the NFL already, which isn't good. But
Mm,
Olave is a great receiver, but I think he's below average at the bottom, not below average
yeah,
though.
I agree.
I
I
don't. I
agree.
don't think he's as bad as like an Aiden O'Connell or Deshaun Watson. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? So I think he's
yeah, no.
bottom barrel below average. Yeah. But Drew Lock, what do you think of him? He started a little bit for the New York Giants after they cut Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't watch a whole lot of those games.
Oh
I
yeah,
wasn't really tuned into the
yeah. I
Giants,
don't blame
the
you.
Giants games, um, as much. So I don't really know. To me, I don't know. I guess you could make an argument for like unproven, but he's been in the league on NFL rosters for a little while now and
Yeah.
not been able to like win a starting job or anything. So um, I'd say probably bad, but maybe unproven. I don't know what you think
Yeah, nah.
about him.
I agree. Like he's been in the league for quite a while. He's been with the Broncos, the Seahawks, now the Giants. I think he's just bad at this point. I mean, he can't.
Yeah,
The times that where he was starting quarterback, he really hasn't been a whole lot. You know what I mean?
no.
I remember the not this past season, but the season before, he did beat the Eagles. So um, that's the one thing I remember. He was with the Seahawks. But yeah, I think he's bad. I think he's like, I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe I think Aiden O'Connell's probably better.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too.
Maybe Anthony Richardson, but definitely
This
better
is
than Deshaun Watson right
yeah, we're
now.
we're we're trying to sort out some pennies here, you know what I mean? So like
Yeah, yeah,
it doesn't matter a whole lot. Yeah,
yeah.
but moving on, we got Aaron Rodgers, New York
Oh,
Jets, which they said that they're gonna move on from him this upcoming off season. So it'll be interesting to see where he lands. But where do you rank him as of now?
yeah. Aaron Rodgers is pretty interesting because I thought it was the case, and I just looked up his stats. He actually like didn't have terrible stats this year. Um, almost 4,000 yards, 28 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. So not like a terrible season by any means, but there was one thing I saw with Aaron Rodgers in an interview after one of their losses, and he was just kind of like bitching about how he needs like not saying this directly, but just the vibe is like he needs help.
Yeah.
Like he can't do it all on his own. And when you're like supposed to, like you're Aaron Rodgers, and don't get me wrong, I'm not disrespecting his career. I think Aaron Rodgers is like in his prime one of the best objective quarterbacks of all
Oh
time.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
Just in terms of raw talent, of course. But to reel it back in, I think when he's saying like stuff like that, and you're Aaron Rodgers, and you are who you are, you're kind of like expected to like go above and beyond, and like if you aren't getting help, doing amazing things like you've done in your career to elevate a team and like exceed expectations almost. And he just really didn't do that this year. And it's probably a product of he is old. He is what, 41 now?
Yeah, he old
And
head.
he just probably doesn't have it anymore, and that's sad. I'm not celebrating that or anything. But he just probably doesn't really have it anymore, unfortunately. And so um statistically, I think he still did okay last year. So you can make an argument for like below average here.
Hmm.
I don't think he's average. He maybe at the top of below average, if anything. But I don't know. I don't know where you'd have him really in here, but I'd say below average for sure for Rodgers.
Yeah, like taking it like just thinking about these older quarterbacks and their whole career. I mean, and actually, like he played pretty well a few years ago. I'm pretty sure he won like back-to-back MVPs
Yeah,
5 years ago or so. But yeah,
yeah,
at this point in his career, I think he is a below average quarterback. Also, one thing I don't like about Aaron Rodgers is like his ego and the
yeah,
way he throws his teammates under the bus. Basically,
yeah.
like when he came to the Jets, he had like these requirements of like who to come. Like he has all to say. I guarantee you that he also got Robert Saleh fired. Um, so just having him on the team, I feel like it's just very toxic for a franchise at this point in time. Like, why sign someone who's like out of their prime and like gonna make a whole bunch of changes to your whole franchise, and you don't know what's gonna turn out of it? You know what I mean? So yeah,
Agreed.
but I still think like you said, he did put up a pretty good and below average statistical season. I think he's like I don't think he's better than Drake May.
No, me neither.
I
Um,
Bryce Young played better than him during the end of that season.
Yeah, during the end for sure. Over the course of the whole season, I'd probably still have Rodgers over Bryce Young.
Okay, okay, okay. I'm fine
Definitely
with
I
leaving him like
agreed.
right here.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So moving on, Jalen Hurts, Philadelphia Eagles. Where do you have him ranked?
Yeah, I think he's my five. Just in terms of giving respect to the Super Bowl champion here, I think I've got Jalen Hurts at five. He this year specifically, I don't think statistically he like blew anybody out of the water. And I know there was a lot of talk. We talked about it at Harp on my podcast
Yeah.
together. Um, the passing game for the Eagles was not exceptional, I guess, by any means necessary. But I mean, with the way that the offense was structured, and I mean, all credit to Saquon Barkley for the effect he had on the Eagles this year. He didn't really need to do that as much, but I do think Jalen Hurts is a great quarterback, and he adds that rushing element to the offense. He's a formed, poised passer for sure as well. And he adds the tush push, bro. You got to
Yeah.
give credit to the tush push.
Yep.
But really for me, this one comes down to just being a Super Bowl champion, the reigning Super Bowl champion. So I think you've got to toss that top five spot to Jalen Hurts here, in my opinion.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm an Eagles fan, so there's some bias in me, but I'm trying to like be as unbiased as possible. I do think he deserves that five spot as of right now. As of right now, of course, things can change, but you gotta give respect to him winning the Super Bowl. Playing great when the lights are shining the brightest. He's a winner. He might not have like the best arm. He might not be the best passer. He might not be the greatest rusher. He might not be the greatest decision maker, but he does what's necessary and what's asked of him to get the job done, win, and move on. And you just gotta respect that, and I definitely do. And there's also a lot of argument, like, say hypotheticals. If Justin Herbert was on the Eagles offense this year, would they win the Super Bowl? Yeah, of course. I think they would. I'm not disagreeing that, like, Justin Herbert, in my opinion, is a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts as a whole. But, like, if we're taking everything into account, I do think Jalen Hurts is better quarterback than Justin Herbert in terms of, like, clutchness, playing good when the moment counts, and, yeah, I think he's deserving of that top five as well. Yeah, but moving
Yeah.
on, got Russell Wilson, Steelers.
Dangerous.
Dangerous. Yeah, so let's see. I know if Drew or if Drew or Weston were on here, they definitely put him in bad. But what would you put him in?
Um, I don't know, man. I think Russ is like another epitome of average guy.
Yeah.
I think after the Broncos year, we would have probably said like bad,
Oh yeah.
honestly, because like he was not good with the Broncos at all. But Russ kind of like with the Steelers team walked in and brought like the veteran leadership, almost the veteran leadership that you like would have expected out of Aaron Rodgers coming into the Jets. But that's what Russ kind of did with the Steelers here. Yeah, I mean was definitely I think at the end of the day, he is the epitome of average. I mean, the Steelers always are making the playoffs, going 10-7, nine and
Oh
seven.
yeah.
Back when it was 16 games, and Russ is like the perfect guy to continue that type of run.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think Russ is the epitome of average for me personally.
Yeah. No, I agree. The Steelers need to re-sign him so they can continue that mediocrity in the
Yeah,
NFL. Because, yeah, like you said, Russell Wilson is the epitome of average. I mean, going back to like his early career, though, I mean, yeah, he would have been like in the top 10, no doubt,
yeah,
especially with the Seahawks. But, going to the Broncos, he was a major bust. But coming to Steelers, he kind of like, revived his career a little bit more, but like it's not enough to like elevate, his career trajectory or the Steelers team as a whole in general. But yeah, I think he's average. I think he's like in the bottom barrel of average. Do you think
yeah.
he's better than Tua?
He might be better than Tua, but I don't really think the others. No.
I think Tua. I think at this point,
Okay,
I think
yeah,
I'd
that's
take
fine.
Tua over him. But I would
Yeah,
say Tua has a lot more weapons around him and whatnot. So like, it's hard to like
yeah,
kind of decipher that. But I'm fine with leaving him at the bottom of average right now.
yeah.
Yeah, we got Brock Purdy next. What's your thoughts?
Purdy is where the game manager slur I feel like was invented back when he was taking the Niners on these playoff runs. Um, for him, man, I think he's above average. I think he really did well with the Niners, which was such a shock, man. It's a really cool story. Like Mr. Irrelevant hops into the San Francisco 49ers, one of the biggest brands in the NFL, and just does his thing, man. Brings them to he was the quarterback against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, right? Like I'm not tripping there.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
second
yeah.
time.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, brings them to a Super Bowl, and yeah, I mean he is the game manager, and he's exactly what the 49ers needed. I think Noah, our 49ers fan friend, is a big proponent of re-signing the guy and paying him. And I don't think that's like necessarily a terrible idea. If you're the Niners, I'm not gonna sit here and talk about what the Niners front office should do at the quarterback position going forward or anything. But just looking at Brock Purdy, he's definitely earned the right to some respect, for sure. And obviously this past year wasn't ideal for the 49ers and what you want if you're fans of their organization. But yeah, I think Purdy has earned above average at least in the league and what we've seen from him and his ability to control games and run this offense.
Yeah, I agree. And I also just think that his story is really cool as well, like being Mr.
Yeah,
Irrelevant. But also, he's just like he just got drafted into a perfect situation. I mean, he does fall in kind of into that game manager, quarterback. But, he does what's needed to be done on the offense. I mean, he does just enough to make, the playmakers do their thing and whatnot. And he's very accurate and decisive. And Has a very high IQ at the quarterback position. But yeah, this is just a perfect place for him. I think, if he were to be somewhere else, I don't think he would be as successful, but you can't control that. So, just being where he is and what he's done so far with the 49ers leading them to the Super Bowl, yeah, I do think he is an above average quarterback. Do you think he's better than Dak Prescott?
Uh, yeah, I guess in terms of like accomplishments, yeah. Like
Yeah, I mean, I
Dak's
guess,
never
yeah,
Dak's never won a conference championship before.
yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I put him over Dak as of right now.
Would you put him over Kyler?
Uh, if we're looking at it like we have a complete team and we want a quarterback to go in there, I'd rather Kyler Murray personally
Mm,
than Brock Purdy. Like just because like both of them are like kind of smaller guys, so it's like the one gripe on Kyler Murray there isn't like a huge upgrade going Purdy. So I'd say Kyler personally, but I also am a Kyler fan myself, so I'm kind of a little biased, I guess. But I don't know. Whatever you think is I'm fine with.
this is tough because again, situations are different, very different actually, and
Yeah,
in terms, like if you taking success, then you would take Purdy based on what he's done.
yeah,
But I do like Kyler more as a quarterback. Yeah, so I think I'll keep it as is right
okay.
now. Yeah, so but we got Geno Smith up next. Yeah, so I think he's also average-ish. Do you agree? I think he's
I
like in the
agree. I
middle
agree.
pack though.
Yeah, probably better than Tua.
I th- Yeah, this one's tough because
Yeah,
because we have only had like a 1 year sample of like great quarterback play out of Sam Darnold.
yeah,
But then again, like Geno Smith's quarterback play has just been mediocre-ish throughout.
yeah. Like consistently mediocre, and Sam Darnold has been inconsistently good,
Yeah.
I guess, this past year. So
Yeah.
uh, recency bias, just going off of that, I give it to Darnold.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
I can go with that.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, not much needs to be said with that. I think that, actually Geno Smith has been like a backup quarterback for a long most of his career, correct? And then he
Yeah,
replaced
yeah,
Russell Wilson.
yeah.
So yeah, that's
Pretty
actually pretty
crazy.
cool. I mean, just given his age and what he's doing now with the Seattle Seahawks, I think it's pretty cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think he's just an average quarterback at best. But Baker Mayfield, what do you have him here?
So this is a really interesting one because I'm eyeing up the rest of the guys that we have left here on this list,
Yeah,
and we got a top 10 here right now that's what 9 deep,
yeah,
including Mahomes. And there's two guys that I think could make
yeah,
an argument for it here,
yeah,
Baker
yeah,
and Jaden Daniels.
yeah. That's why I think I need to move Stafford down.
Yeah.
Cause
So I would say Baker's top 10.
yes. Now,
Um,
he's been
yeah.
really, really good. Just- So I'm curious to see where you rank him between these four quarterbacks here.
Yeah. As of this last year, I'd say better than yeah, I guess better than Love, just
Yeah,
because Baker's had like such a good like such an impact on this team, I feel like.
yeah.
In terms of like leadership and play. Um as of this past year, I guess I'd probably rank him over Stroud too. Not Herbert though, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was gonna rank him as well. I mean, given this past season, yeah, for sure. Like he put up crazy numbers this past season, and he's been ever since he became starter for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's just been really, really good. Shame on the Browns for letting him go, but if he was on the Browns, he'd probably his career would probably shriveled away, honestly. So
Yep.
good for him for getting out of there. But
Yeah.
yeah, I know you kind of you used to dislike Baker, right? Because of
Yeah, I used to dislike him just because he planted the flag on Ohio State's
yeah,
Block O back
yep,
in what 2016.
hmm
But we forgive and we forget. Well, we forgive, but we don't forget. But I've come around to the guy a little bit more.
Right, right. Yeah, so
Yeah.
as of right now, yeah, I think he's better than Stroud and Love. But yeah, so moving on, Will Levis. This is oof, I don't know. I'm torn between like bad and kind of like unproven-ish.
Yeah, it's funny. We were literally talking about this yesterday, weren't we?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. I think the summary of what we decided was like Will Levis isn't like the worst quarterback in the world, by any means.
Yeah.
He looks like one. I mean, just going off of how many hilarious screenshots we saw of the guy last year, just
Oh
from
yeah.
any given play. Um, it definitely doesn't seem like he's got everything together by any means here for the Titans, and so yeah, I mean, uh, bad and unproven. Where to go with that? Maybe I'd lean unproven, I guess.
Okay.
You could say either though. Like,
I'm leaning I think I'm leaning bad, but like the top of the crop.
okay, yeah, that I'm fine with that.
Yeah, he man, they were the Titans were really counting on him to be like the answer at the quarterback position last season. And he was just like a turnover machine, man. I mean, it was tough, which eventually got him benched for a little bit. It'll be curious to see like if the Titans run it back with him, if they go after someone in free agency, if they draft someone with the first overall pick.
Yeah.
But yeah, Will Levis. Will Levis is not the answer as of right now, and that's why. But I do think he's like better than these other
Yeah,
pennies in
better
the
than those
bad.
guys. I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah.
All right. Now things get interesting. Jaden Daniels, top 10 ish.
Yeah.
Where does he land for you?
Where does he fall for me? Yeah, he's definitely in this top 10 here. Probably would put him over Love, just because I mean,
Yeah, I agree.
just based off of that performance against the Lions alone, man,
Oh
in the
man.
NFC playoff side of the playoffs,
Yeah.
that was insane and unexpected of him. So he definitely exceeded expectations there. Again, I'm a very biased CJ Stroud guy. If I'm like asking for a Super Bowl team, I'd take CJ Stroud, but I definitely get the argument, and Jaden Daniels has been successful more recently than Stroud,
Mm-hmm.
so I get that. I definitely would probably have Baker still over him though, personally,
Mm. This is tough because
right now.
he has a really small sample size, right? Only
Yeah, yeah,
one
it's
NFL
1 year.
season.
It's
But
funny
that's
because he's really like in a very similar like we're talking about him similarly as we were to Stroud last year.
you're
So I'm,
right.
I'm very interested to see how he does next year. But yeah, it's a small sample size for sure.
Very small sample size, but we haven't like seen like and like a rookie quarterback take him to the NFC Championship. I mean, he beat uh
Yeah, yeah,
Baker Mayfield. He beat the
yeah.
Detroit Lions. For
Yes.
me, I have him at 6. That might be crazy. That might be super crazy. But like,
Okay.
given like you, his top receiver Terry McLaurin, which is a great receiver, but like other than that, he really didn't have like great weapons around him. His tight end one was Zach Ertz, a little bit out of his prime. He played actually pretty well this past season. I got watched Austin Eckler, Brian Robinson, who's pretty good actually. But I mean, were you really expecting the Washington Commanders to get to the NFC Championship game? No
No,
one would have believed
I
that
was not.
in a million years. And just
No,
like this
yeah,
is this is probably the most special rookie season from a quarterback ever, or in
yeah.
recent memories. So I have him at 6, but we could definitely settle
You
for
want to
something.
compromise and put Herbert over him, but put him over Baker.
Yeah,
Put him
yeah,
at that two
yeah.
two spot in that category.
I'd be
Okay.
perfectly fine. Like I like how we do like if we had like a Super Bowl team, I'd definitely take Justin
Yeah,
Herbert over Jaden
yeah.
Daniels. But yeah, super small sample size as well. But great quarterback there. And then we're kind of getting into like the uh either quarterbacks that started or like quarterbacks that could potentially start in the future. So we're gonna run through these real quick. Kirk
Yeah.
Cousins, I think he's below average. I don't think he's bad,
Y-
but
Yeah.
like below average, but maybe average. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Dude, it's so crazy how much money they paid this guy
I
and
know.
then benched him at the end of the year.
Yeah, and
Like
he
that's insane to me.
like he pretty much had a pretty mediocre season, and then kind of
Yeah.
fell off near the end. So
Yeah. I don't know. I'd probably put him over Rogers. Like in between Rogers and May,
okay,
maybe.
okay, I'm fine with
Just
it.
because I mean,
No, nah.
what do you think?
I think
What do you think is better?
I think Bryce Young deserves to go up more, man.
You think? Okay.
Like,
You have him over Rogers and Cousins.
I think so.
Okay. I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it.
Yeah,
Because I
we're
mean, if you're looking at it like, yeah,
like in terms of trajectory from beginning season to end season, Bryce Young played his best near the end. Well, these two quarterbacks played their worst near the end. But
yeah, that's
that's
true.
like one pie to the whole story there. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's
I see what
tough.
you're saying.
It's tough. But yeah,
It's tough. These below average ones are tough because it's such like
min-
hypotheticals,
hypotheticals and a lot
and
of minuscule things. So
yeah,
yeah, but Andy Dalton, I think he's below average.
uh,
Bad. If he's
yeah.
bad, I think he's in the top of the bad. But I think he.
I put him top of bad. I put him top of bad.
Okay, okay. I like that.
Personally.
What do you think about Jameis Winston here?
Uh,
I
I love Jameis
oh,
Winston.
me too.
He's
Don't get
one of my favorite players in the NFL. But yeah, probably with the
yeah.
state or the position that he is in his career, or the point of his career he's probably bad, realistically as well.
Yeah, I don't. I think he might be like that.
Better than yeah, maybe have him over O'Connell, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say like that. Maybe even Levis, but like I'm fine with what it is.
Yeah. Cooper Rush, he started a little bit for the Cowboys. I also think he's in the bad category here.
Yeah, I agree. Uh,
I think he's like in
maybe,
this
yeah,
range.
maybe behind Jameis or behind O'Connell, maybe.
Okay, I'll put him behind O'Connell.
Okay.
Trey Lance just bad. Horrible.
Could you make
Uh,
an argument for unproven?
I could make the. Okay, yeah. Actually, I agree with that because he's never really gotten a chance to like play a
No.
whole season at quarterback. I mean, he
Uh-uh.
got injured with the 49ers. So I thought he had potential, I feel like, to be a good quarterback for the 49ers. He was in a
Yeah,
good
I agree.
position. He was in the perfect like landing spot. But
Yeah.
things just happened, injuries and all that plagued him, and then he eventually got traded to the Cowboys. But then he couldn't even, like beat Cooper Rush for the QB2 position.
Yeah, yeah.
But there is still a lot of unproven out of him. I think he's unproven. Yeah.
Yeah. That's where
Gardner,
I'd have him.
yeah. Gardner Minshew, I also think is bad. Um,
Yeah, bad. I mean, Aiden O'Connell did better than him, so
oh
definitely
yeah.
behind Aiden O'Connell.
I think Cooper Rush
I, yeah,
is a
yeah, I
lot.
like that.
Okay. JJ McCarthy unproven.
Yeah, you gotta go unproven here.
Yep. Daniel
I
Jones.
hope he has a terrible career, but it's unproven as of right now.
Daniel Jones, I think he's been dealt a bad hand for the Giants, but for the career he's had with the New York Giants, I think he's just been bad in general.
I think he's been bad too.
I think he's in the
Probably,
top of
probably closer
bad.
to the top. Yeah.
I think he's better. I think he's
Maybe
the
above.
top.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
agree. I agree.
All right, and then Spencer Rattler, who started a little bit for the Saints, he kind of had a small sample size as well. I kind of want to go
Yeah,
bad, but at the same time, I think he's unproven.
I think you have to go unproven, but from what we saw, I'm not like super hopeful
Oh yeah,
on
yeah.
him
Oh yeah, me neither. I'm
by any means.
not. Yeah, I'm not giving my hopes up for banking on Spencer Rattler to pan out. But yeah,
Yeah.
he was kind of given a bad hand as well. He had like horrible weapons around him when he started playing for them.
Yeah.
All right, last but not least, a very interesting one, Justin Fields.
Justin Fields.
I love
Put him
Justin
in Mahomes.
Fields.
Put him in Mahomes. I'm just kidding.
There's a lot of like, there's always just like a what if factor with Justin Fields, or like the potential not tapped in Justin Fields.
Yeah.
So it's hard to rank him. I mean, he got benched for Russell Wilson, so he can't be higher than Russ. Um, I
Yeah.
don't want to put him in bad, but like he's most of it, like his career, he's pretty been bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because I mean, the Steelers' offense definitely improved when Russ came into it.
Yeah,
But also Justin Fields like offers like a bit of a different element to the offense that Russ did. So I mean, he was more of a rusher, more of an athlete, I guess, with the ball in his hands. I would have, and like I said, I am biased towards Ohio State alumni, but I would have him below average, above Derek Carr, personally.
yeah, I like that. I like that
Yeah.
because, yeah, he's like most of his career, he's kind of been dealt a bad hand in Chicago as well. Because like when he was a starter, they really didn't have much around him. They never really built
Yeah.
anything around him, and then coming to the Steelers, getting benched for Russ and all that. So, but he's gonna be a free in this upcoming offseason, so it'll be interesting to see where he lands and if he has potential
Yeah.
to be a starting quarterback. But yeah, I still he's
Yeah.
still young. He still has a lot of
He is
potential.
still young. Him
So
for me is just like he hasn't really ever grasped the mental side of football yet,
gotcha.
like decision making and how to run an offense and be an elite quarterback, like what it takes up here instead of just the talent. He has all the talent in the world. He's
Oh yeah, yeah,
got a great arm, very fast, shifty, dual threat
yep.
possibilities there for sure, but just hasn't tapped into that intangible aspect of being a quarterback for me.
Yeah, all right. Well, this is the tier list. Is there anything you would change personally, or does everything look good to you?
Honestly, dude, I think we kind of cooked.
Uh,
I think that move to put Stafford out of the top 10 there to make room for I think is a pretty solid top 10 right now,
yeah.
in my opinion. Um, yeah, I really like this list.
Yeah, I do too. I don't think I would really change anything now that I'm looking through it one last final time. But yeah, if there's nothing to change, then there we go. That is our tier list for NFL quarterbacks. Let us know what you think, what you agree and disagree with in the comments down below. If you did enjoy the video, please leave a like and subscribe. That would mean a lot to me. Also, go follow Sam on all his socials. His all his socials and his ad is linked down below, right underneath his webcam there. Yeah, but with that being said, I'll see you guys next time.
Peace out. Thanks for having me.